Right, cool. So you're a skinny guy, you struggle to gain weight, right? Let me guess, you try and eat way more food, and actually, a lot of the time, you're able to eat your calorie goal or you're able to eat a lot of food without it feeling that difficult. But then there are also days where it feels really difficult. Your stomach feels like crap. You feel like that you can't finish the next meal, and you're having a bit of this battle with the plate. I had the same thing. You're just kind of staring at the food. You're not sure if you can finish it, okay? Now, the worst part about all of that is that when you do go to the scale and you try and see how much progress you've made from all your hard effort, the scale is literally the same number. And if you're like me, the scale was literally a lower number than when you started. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I know exactly where you are because I used to be there myself. It took me 3 years to take my weight from 62 kilos to 78 kilos. And the maddest part is I didn't really make any progress for the first 2 years because there was just so much trial and error. Bulking advice really leads you astray when you're trying to gain weight. So I made most of my progress right at the end. And it's only because I started to understand the fundamental principles of why I was losing weight. I was like you. I used to blame my genetics. I used to blame my metabolism. But the truth is, there's much more hidden mechanisms that are there that are stopping you from gaining weight. If you want, I actually documented gaining 5 kilos in 50 days. It's on my YouTube channel, it's on the playlist. Have a look if you want. But I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna explain to you exactly why you are where you're at and exactly what you can do to start gaining weight and seeing the scale change, finally. Right, so what is appetite? Appetite is the thing that is holding you back. It's not your metabolism. If you wanna blame something genetic about you, it's your appetite. But the difference between appetite and metabolism is your appetite is adaptive. You can actually influence it. So we're going to talk about that now. So you have hunger and you have fullness. And you need to think of these as two factors that are playing in your life at the same time. And it's like tug of war. One of them is going to win and that's going to decide whether you eat or whether you don't. So I'll start with fullness because I'm sure you relate to that one a lot. Yeah. The way it works is there's multiple factors that increase pressure, and when the pressure builds up enough, it tells you to stop eating. And the way it tells you to stop eating is it's not like in one go, it's not an event, right? There's stop eating now, it's like stop eating this meal, and then there's stop eating for a big period of time until we feel like it's ready to eat again. So if you let these pressures build up too much, you're gonna find you're not gonna be able to eat your next meal or the meal after that. You're just not gonna feel full. Sorry, you're not going to feel hungry for a really long time. So the stomach stretch reflex to the literal volume of food inside you is one pressure that affects fullness. Your satiety hormones, right? So when you start eating food and the amount of food that's getting digested is getting recognized by your body, it starts releasing these hormones that say you are satiated, you don't need to eat anymore. And some of them, like one of them is called CCK, and one of them is called GLP-1. If you don't know what GLP-1 is, yeah, you definitely know what Ozempic is. And Ozempic is designed around this natural hormone that is already found in the body called GLP-1. It's designed to mimic it as accurately as possible. So if you're constantly getting to satiation, you're essentially on Ozempic, right? And I'm oversimplifying it, but like it really is that. Like fullness is real. And because you're a skinny guy, you're way more sensitive to the stomach stretch. You're way more sensitive to getting big releases of satiety hormones. And another massive factor is slow digestion. So your body knows the speed of your digestion. And based on the speed that it anticipates of the digestion, it will decide whether you should be full or not. So if it's digesting food fast, it's not going to tell you to stop. And it's also not going to tell you that you can't eat for a long amount of time. Now, weird thing about fullness, you're probably imagining this scale where like these pressures build up, it's linear, and you need to find the point where like you should stop, but it's not linear, right? It's really disproportional. You can't map it out, but let's just imagine it. I say it's exponential because there's almost this point of no return where like you can get to a point where you're full and you just stop eating in that meal, and then you get to lunch and you can eat again. But what you really want to avoid is getting to a point where you force feed past that point, and then all of a sudden you were like here, but when you force fed, you ended up like up here. And now you can't eat for like 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. You skip lunch, or maybe you have a snack instead of lunch because you really can't imagine eating. And then dinner comes and now you're force feeding again. It's really bad. Yeah. And then the separate thing that's going on with fullness is that it's a system. I mentioned that genetically, the difference between your appetite and your metabolism is you can train your appetite. So to an extent, you can improve your sensitivity to stomach stretch. You can kind of, if you keep getting satiated, your hormone release will be smaller, and digestion speed can, that's a weird one. But we can influence these factors essentially. And the problem with traditional bulking advice is that it focuses on the hunger side, which we're going to get into in a minute, but it really ignores the fullness side for the skinny guy. And that's because bulking wasn't designed for skinny guys. It wasn't designed for people with appetite problems. It was designed for someone that looks like how I look right now. I'm a normal weight, I'm a healthy weight. And let's say like I weigh 75 right now, right? I've lost a bit of weight. And if I wanted to take that weight to 90, that's what a bulk really is. Someone who's at a normal weight, who has a normal appetite. Now, my appetite's still not normal. I'm exactly like you guys, but the point stands. It wasn't designed for you. So what do they tell you to do? Eat a big meal. But what's the problem? It spikes your fullness, right? All of these pressures build, your stomach stretches, satiety hormones, Ozempic. Literally, bulking advice is fucking making you take Ozempic. Think of it like that, yeah? And then your appetite's gone and you can't eat your next meal, right? And I did say at the start that there are days where you're able to eat loads of food and it's not a problem, and that's true. And that's gonna go into your hunger, right? But what we're really talking about is there are some days where you are struggling to eat the whole day and you think you've done a good job because you felt like shit the whole day, which must mean you tried. And you did try, but I promise you, if you counted the calories, you ate about 800, 1,000 or 1,200. This is what happened to me all the time, right? So hunger. There's two reasons you get hungry, right? Why do you eat in the first place? You need energy. Energy comes from food. I'm moving, I'm talking, I'm thinking. It comes from energy. So biologically, your body understands this need. It gives you hunger signals to meet the energy requirements. And then there's a second factor, which is essentially psychological, or it's like the reward system in your brain, kind of like dopamine, right? So let's get into it. Ghrelin is a hunger hormone, opposite of these satiety hormones, and it comes in anticipation of a food. So your body knows that you eat food at certain times throughout the day, right? And I don't mean the specific time in this example, I just mean it knows you're going to eat food, so it releases this hunger hormone that releases enzymes that basically allow you to digest food better, blah, blah, blah. But that's a big factor. And you can kind of train your ghrelin release. If you eat more frequently throughout the day, your body will release ghrelin more frequently. It's a process, you need to train your body to do it, but on the hunger side, this takes weeks. All of these factors here take weeks to improve. Fullness and trying to get better at resisting the stretch and these hormones and all these things takes months, takes ages. And the process of improving your stomach stretchiness, whatever you want to call it, is awful. You feel like shit. What? So you're training your stomach to be big by always being uncomfortable. Like, it just doesn't make sense, and it takes months to get better. And also it's largely limited by your genetics in a way that hunger isn't. So ghrelin, meal timing. So separate to ghrelin being released throughout the day as it anticipates food, you have your circadian rhythm, which is linked to your internal body clock. Yeah. And your body knows what time of day it is, at least in its own ecosystem. And tied to that, it knows about your specific meal timings, right? So if you're someone that has a scheduled process, you wake up at 9 every day, you eat breakfast at 10, lunch at 2, dinner at 6, your body anticipates that and it sends these hunger cues automatically at those times, right? So you probably know someone that's always hungry in the morning. This is why they've trained themselves to eat at that time every day. If you're not hungry in the morning, yes, it's your genetics, but you can train yourself to be hungry in the morning, okay? Now, your habits, this is the same thing as meal timing, but it's more about frequency. It's linked to ghrelin as well, but like separate to your body knowing the specific times that you eat. If you like some days only eat one meal a day, or you skip breakfast or stuff like that, this chaotic nature of your diet really affects your hunger, right? That's why some days you're able to eat a lot, some days you really can't, right? And when we go into the psychology of your hunger, we're talking about how good does the food taste? How good does it smell? How good does it feel? Do you have any good memories associated with that food that encourage you to eat the food? And it might sound a little bit silly, but like the psychology of the food can overcome fullness in an instant. Yeah, think about you've had dinner, you feel like you can't eat anything, and then your favorite dessert is on the table and all of a sudden you find space for it. Maybe it's not dessert, maybe it's sweets, maybe it's whatever, but you've probably experienced hunger overcoming a feeling of fullness. Yeah, so we can influence that. We can eat nicer food. We can eat our favorite foods. We can look into that, right? So this concept, I need you to burn it in your fucking skull. This is why you're skinny. This is the most important thing. 20% hunger versus 80% fullness. This is your bad days. This is what happens. Some days you're eating all the calories that you need to eat. Other days you're eating nearly all the calories you need to eat, but you're really struggling to do it. And then there are days where it feels like the day where you're eating all the calories you need to eat, but it's a struggle. But really what's happening, the fullness pressures have got too much, and your hunger cues, because they're really inconsistent, it's just one of these days where you're not going to get many of them. And this combination means you eat literally 800 calories. And it doesn't matter if you had a really fucking good week of eating, this is going to make you lose a kilo overnight based on your genetics, right? So yes, you can lose weight quicker than other people, but it's because of this. It's not because you're burning it quicker. Yeah, and I don't want to, you are burning food quicker as well. Metabolism is a real thing, but it's not the mechanism here, right? You having a fast metabolism versus someone's normal metabolism, it's about a 300 calorie difference max. If you're going to blame the reason you're skinny on not being able to eat 300 calories, you've lost your mind. It's way bigger than that. It's not 300 calories. There's a whole psychological thing going on. There's a biological thing going on. It's different. Okay. So what we need to do is these bad days where it's 20% hunger and 80% fullness, we need to focus on these days. Don't worry about the days where you're already eating a decent amount of food. Don't try and eat more food on those days. Don't try and force feed on those days where, you know, you kind of were hitting a good number, but we were struggling. Don't do that, because that's influencing these 20-80 days anyway, right? What we need to do is minimize this and try and turn these into more like 60-40, right? And so that goes into your appetite constraints. And 80 is such a big number that it makes you think we need to focus on fullness. We need to reduce our fullness. And reducing fullness is not really possible. If you're already full, you're fucked, right? So what you really need to do is protect your appetite. Don't get full in the first place. Yeah. So the first rule I'm going to give you, cut out the big meals. Don't try to eat a big meal. Yeah. The moment you feel satiated and full, stop. And over time, you're going to learn how to portion a plate of food where you don't have to waste food. Like we have this idea in our head, probably from our parents, that you have to finish the plate of food, but you don't have the appetite that supports that. And then that gets you in this problem. So it's probably going to look like, don't finish your meals at first, but then you're going to learn how to build a plate of food that you can finish, that isn't a big plate of food, that doesn't cause these things in such a strong way, right? Avoid slow digestion. And I put thick there, thick foods. So different foods digest at different speeds outside of the volume of the food you ate, right? You've heard it, slow release carbs. Can you imagine that these bulking guys are telling you to put 200 grams of oats into their fucking shakes, or to eat this oat porridge, high calorie snack bullshit, whatever the fuck, yeah? Oats digest slower than basically every other carb. They turn into this gel-like substance in your stomach that release more of this fucking GLP-1 hormone in your body. Ozempic advice from the bulking community. Anyway, So avoid foods that slow digestion. Protein slows digestion. It's the most satiating macro. Like, guys, protein. These guys are telling you high protein diets because for them, they have such insane hunger cues that they need to find ways to increase fullness. Otherwise, this is reversed for most of the fitness community, and you're taking your advice from them. So the meals they have, what they're trying to do is they can't really reduce their hunger. Like, there's not really much you can do once your hunger's high, right? But you can influence your fullness. So they're manipulating their meals with a lot of vegetables, with high protein, with slow digestion foods to increase the hunger side on purpose. And then we're trying to copy them and we're fucking ourselves up. So avoid slow digestion foods. Maybe I'll have to make another video on specifically what those foods are. Chewing. This is a factor that I didn't put up here, but guys, there's so many more factors that go into what affects fullness and hunger. I've dumbed it down. But the act of chewing sends signals to your body to stop eating. So the chewier your foods are, dry foods, think chicken breast. Anyway, dry foods will fill you up. Chewing foods will fill you up. So something like mashed potatoes is such a good example of food that you should be eating. You barely have to chew it, right? Low volume. And that leans perfectly into calorie density. Can you sneak calories into your meal without increasing the size? I'm going to use mashed potatoes as another example because that was one of the most important foods when I was gaining weight. I've seen French chefs go almost 1-to-1 ratio with potato and butter, right? Butter has so much calories. It makes, and I bring up the chef thing because they're doing that because it makes it taste better. They want the best tasting food available. So imagine you're increasing the calories of your food, not increasing the volume and making it taste better at the same time. That's how you need to think about cooking, right? And the way we're going to link this to your hunger is we're not going to use calorie density to eat bigger meals or eat higher calorie meals. Yeah, I need to get it out of your head. Stop trying to eat more food. Think of the 20-80 days. We need to make those days less frequent, and we need to make them not as impactful. Okay, it can't be 800 calories or 1,000 calories eaten. We need to start eating like 2,000 calories on the bad days. So we're going to use calorie density to eat meals more frequently. Yeah, and that might sound overwhelming because you don't have the appetite to eat more frequent meals, but I'm not telling you to eat more food. Okay, if your plate currently looks like this, use calorie density to make your plate like this. Same calories, smaller plate, and then increase the frequency, because the smaller your plate is, the less stomach stress you're going to get, the less satiety hormones, and the faster your digestion, which means you're able to eat sooner. Yeah, it all links. It's very simple. And then on top of that, when you're eating more frequently, you're training your body to release ghrelin more often. So over time, you start naturally feeling hungry, and this 20 starts becoming 30. And then more than that, oh, I'm getting lost here. Easy there. Oh, for fuck's sake, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I've caught myself, I remember. Right, more than that, it's that ghrelin responses, like affecting the adaptation of ghrelin responses really quick. It only takes weeks. If you just start eating frequent meals, even if you try that, you could even do this. Stop even eating in a calorie surplus, start losing weight. I don't give a shit, but start eating frequently. Eat like 5 meals a day, small ones. I don't care if it makes you lose weight. Over time, you're gonna start producing way more ghrelin, and you're gonna start feeling hungry more often. And then all of a sudden you're gonna start being able to eat more meals. And the tug of war is gonna be more lopsided on the hunger start. So yeah, you're gonna have this fullness thing from over time eating more food because you feel more hungry, but it doesn't affect you the same way because you feel more hungry. Meal timing, similar to frequency, but let's link it to your biology, your circadian rhythm. Yes, if you eat more frequently, you release more ghrelin, but if you eat at the same time every day, it's like you're stacking this effect on it, because not only does your body anticipate the fact that you eat frequently, there's a separate system. This is a separate system that anticipates the time of day that you're going to eat. So If you can keep your meal timing the same, you're gonna double down on that system, and you're gonna be more hungry throughout the day. Your hunger impulses are gonna be stronger. You're going to want to eat more when those time windows come, okay? And then let's focus on the psychology. I'll be honest, it's mad that I discovered meal frequency and meal timing really late. My first 10 kilos pretty much came from psychology, right? And calorie density, because essentially what I realized is that I'm having these shit days of eating, and I realized that because I was losing 1 kilo on the scale every fucking time it happened. So I started using calorie density to minimize the bad days. And I started using psychology. I started getting good at cooking on purpose. I started researching my recipes a lot more. I started layering flavors. I started using calorie density, so cooking with butter, cooking with chicken fat, cooking with beef tallow, right? For example, these things add layers of flavor to your meal that make them tastier, make you eat more food. It adds more calories to the meal. And then instead of making the meal bigger because I figured all of that out and then fucking up everything anyway, I just said, well, I'm just going to eat the same amount of calories, but I'm going to eat less food proportionally. And that's how I gained my first 10 kilos, right? And then I discovered meal frequency and meal timing. And if I'd known that then, it wouldn't have taken me 3 years. I probably would have gained the weight in 15 kilos. Yeah, probably 9 months would have gained it. And I'm pretty lean, guys, so this shit works. So taste, minimize the bad days, influence the hunger because that system's going to adapt quickly. Don't forget about fullness, but forget about improving this system. I want you to just protect your appetite, yeah? Just don't allow this to get out of hand, because there will be a point of no return. Remember that it's exponential. Remember that anytime you listen to bulking advice, you're basically, guys, I need to make it clear, yeah? I know people that so you can buy Ozempic, that's like a product that mimics GLP-1, but there's this whole peptide trend at the moment. And I know people that are buying GLP-1, the hormone that your body produces. This is it's synthetically synthesized hormone, so it's the same thing as the hormone, and they're injecting it into their body so that they eat less food and kill their hunger cravings, yeah? There are people doing this daily, and bulking advice literally fucking does that for you. Think about it. Like, it makes no sense. Right. I made this video off the back of a comment. Someone asked me, how am I able to do like meal structures to support my low appetite or inconsistent appetite? So that's why I made this video. And I want to make more videos to help skinny people. So I need your help. Just leave comments of specific problems you're facing, because this isn't the whole equation of how I was able to solve my problem. And it won't be the whole equation of how you're able to solve your problem. There's so many things I can talk about. But I'd rather talk about what you specifically want and not what I think you might want to hear, if that makes sense. So let me know if this video was useful, and yeah, peace out.